There's a very high chance my nephew is actually my son. This is one of those surreal situations where you wonder if it's really happening or if you'll wake up from a nightmare at any moment. But this isn't a dream. I'm a 32-year-old man married to Liz, 36F. We've been married for 2.5 years. Liz is my partner, my safe haven, and the reason I turned my life around. But today all of that is at risk because her older sister, Jime, 37F, just confessed something I never saw coming. There's a very high chance her son, Luis, 8M, is actually my son. A past I'd rather forget. In 2015, I was a completely different person. I was 23 in the most reckless stage of my life. I lived in Michoacan, worked intermittently, and spent my nights partying, bar hopping, and, most of all, on Tinder. I'm not proud to admit it, but I was extremely promiscuous during that time. My only concern was having fun and avoiding responsibilities. One of those nights, I matched with Jime. She was beautiful, charismatic, and confident, and the connection was instant. After a few messages, we decided to meet at a bar in downtown Morelia. The night was a whirlwind, lots of laughter, way too many drinks, and, eventually, we ended up at my apartment. I remember we started using protection, but the condom broke. Jime said she'd take the morning after pill, and in my immaturity and carelessness, I didn't question it further. We spent the entire night together, and in the morning, we parted ways. I thought it would just be a one-night stand I'd never think about again. I never imagined that reckless decision would come back to haunt me years later. The unexpected encounter that changed everything. Fast forward 3 years to 2018. By then, I was a different man. My life no longer revolved around parties or dating apps. I had decided to settle down and look for something more meaningful. That's when I met Liz at a mutual friend's wedding. From the moment we met, I was captivated by her. Her laugh, her intelligence, and her personality made me feel something I hadn't felt before. At first, there was an awkward moment. I thought she was Jime. The resemblance was undeniable, but as we talked, I realized she wasn't the same woman. I decided not to dwell on it and just go with the flow. What started as a casual conversation turned into a friendship and eventually a serious relationship. When Liz introduced me to her family, I never expected Jime to be her sister. The moment I saw her, I felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. During that meeting, Jime and I had a brief private conversation. She confirmed that she remembered our night together and, though we were both uncomfortable, we agreed it was best to leave the past in the past. The secret and Luis. Over time, I developed a close bond with Luis. He was an energetic, curious kid who was always excited to spend time with me. To him, I was the cool uncle, and that made me proud. On the other hand, his father was distant. I met him once, and he didn't like me. According to Jime, their relationship had always been rocky, and it had only gotten worse over the years. I didn't think much of it. I was focused on my marriage and maintaining a good relationship with my in-laws. The revelation that changed everything. Today, everything changed. Jime called me early this morning, asking to meet in person. She sounded anxious and nervous, which was unusual for her. When we met, she didn't waste any time dropping the bomb. There's a high chance Luis is my son. She explained that after our night together, she never took the morning after pill. Instead, she returned to her boyfriend and continued their relationship as if nothing had happened. When she found out she was pregnant, they assumed the baby was his since Luis physically resembles her more than anyone else. But over the years, she had lingering doubts. Luis has some physical traits that don't quite match his supposed father. What pushed her to confess was her deteriorating relationship with her partner. He's been having an affair for months, and when she confronted him, he simply left. Jime feels vulnerable and worried about Luis's future. She wants to ensure that if something happens to her, I would be there to care for him. The internal conflict. Since hearing her confession, my mind hasn't stopped racing. On one hand, I feel an undeniable responsibility. If Luis is my son, I need to know. But on the other hand, there's Liz. Telling her something like this could destroy our marriage. Liz knows about my promiscuous past, but has always made it clear that she doesn't want to know any details. How do I explain to her that her nephew might actually be my child? There's also the potential fallout for the entire family. My in-laws adore me and I don't know how they would react to something like this. And then there's Luis. He sees me as his uncle, not his potential father. How could I handle that transition without hurting him emotionally? The decision that will change everything. For now, I'm considering getting a DNA test in secret. I don't want to involve anyone else until I'm completely sure. But even if the results confirm my suspicions, what should I do next? Should I confront Liz and tell her everything? Or should I keep it a secret to protect our marriage? The only thing I know is that I can't ignore this situation. Luis deserves to know the truth, and I need to face the consequences of my past decisions, no matter how painful they might be. TLDR, I had a one-night stand with a woman years ago. It turns out that woman is now my sister-in-law and her son might be mine. I'm torn between telling my wife the truth or keeping the secret to protect our relationship.